Hi. It's so nice to be here again. I think the last time I was here was the beginning of the practice period. And I get the honor of being here at the end of the practice period to close that for us. And I really want to congratulate you all on this practice period. I've been able to be kind of a lurker from the outside and observe a little bit about what's been going on. And it's been just wonderful to see how people have diligently dove right in and taken this to heart and really looked closely at the heart of the Buddha's teachings. It makes me very happy to see that. Practice periods are a kind of time of intensity where we gather together and we focus together. And doing this as a Sangha is really a great thing to do. And we do it as a Sangha for the here and now, for all of us together, because to try and do it individually, it's really hard. But to do it as a Sangha together and to have everyone's energy that you can draw on makes it much, much easier. We also do it as a Sangha with our ancestors from the past, because much of what we're studying is what has come down to us from previous generations. And we use Thich Nhat Hanh's book. What a beautiful ancestor we have in him. So we make our ancestors alive when we do this. And we do this intense practice period with the future generations as well. For future generations to be able to practice like we have been practicing, they need us to practice with diligence. If we don't, they don't have the foundation that they need in the future. So everything that we were doing here was for us now, but also for the past and for the future. Now, our ancestors knew a lot about how to do this, and we borrowed their information, their tradition. And one of the things they knew was about right diligence, because we had to apply right diligence in order to have this practice period. So our ancestors knew that right diligence means balancing effort with ease. Right diligence means balancing effort with ease. And this comes from way, way back in our Sangha history, from the time of the Buddha. So at the time of the Buddha, the monks and nuns were itinerant. They walked the countryside and they served the people that they found. But once a year, during the rains time, when it was very difficult to walk out in the roads, it must have been very muddy and hard to traverse, they came back together for 3 months. And that was a period both of rest, where they were no longer walking the countryside, they were staying in one place, but it was also a time of intensity, where they together focused on their practice, gave themselves the foundation that it required for them to be able to then turn around at the end of the 3 months and go back out into the world and share from reality, not from some idea, but from the reality of the piece that they touched. Right diligence means balancing effort and ease. So this effort, we've just done some of that effort with the practice period. And practice periods are one way we do effort, but there's also other ways. When we go to retreats, even though it's called a retreat, it's really a period of significant effort. We get rid of all the distractions and we focus our energy together on practicing, on sitting. That's effort. We have effort when we do things like ceremonies, teacher interviews. These are all things that we know about are effortful. But there's also ease in what we're doing. Like the ease of just enjoying this beautiful spring evening. The sun is out or was out. It's not so cold anymore, it's a feeling of warmth in the air. There's nothing for us to strive for or push for or grasp after. We can just be. That's effortless. So this balance. We are Westerners, and particularly Americans, have been steeped in intensity and striving and doing and doing and doing. It's in our bones. But intensity is not the goal of our practice. It's not. Intensity is a tool of our practice. A tool we get to pick up at the right time and use, but it's not, intensity is not something that we use to push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves. And one of the reasons this is true is that even though intensity is a lovely quality for us to have in our practice, it also has a shadow side. So the shadow side of intensity is, I'm going to practice really hard. I'm doing so much better than you are, because you're not practicing as hard as I am, right? Now that ego voice comes in, that's the shadow of intensity. If we have a goal in practice, and I'm not really sure we do, but I would say if we do have a goal, the goal is freedom. Freedom. And freedom's always available to us, all the time, no matter where we are, whatever's happening, it's available to us. But ironically, if we're too intense and we're grasping after freedom, it flits away like a butterfly fleeing our net. It's always going to be just out of reach. But if we sit down, the butterfly might just land on us and stay with us for a while. And in my experience, freedom arises when we have that balance between effort and ease. And I hope you feel that from this practice period, that you feel about all this effort you've been expending, that there is some freedom here for you now. It's like, wow, something opened up for me in all that effort, and now I get to enjoy it. Balancing effort and ease. Too much effort, we just grasp after everything. Too much ease, whatever, we don't transform. Well, that balance is nice. And that's right diligence. That balance is right diligence. I've realized recently that I'm at an age when I'm looking back over my life more and more. There's a lot more of my life behind me than in front of me. And one of the things that I've seen in myself is this quality of diligence. It's a recurring theme in my life, diligence. I think about music, for instance. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6 years old, and until I was 27, I did not look up. That's what I did. And I picked up the bass guitar at 62, and I'm practicing every day, at least an hour every day, and I'm having so much fun. So much fun, and it's diligence that's allowing me to have that fun. I was thinking about the diligence in terms of woodworking. So I have pictures that someone took of me about 3 years old standing at the workbench with my grandfather. And I diligently learned how to make furniture throughout my life. And now my house is mostly furnished with things that I've made. And that's really fun, you know, I realize I've been very diligent in relationships. My wife and I have been a thing for 38 some plus years, something like that. Of course, anyone with a long relationship knows it's not easy. Yeah. But I've somehow been diligent. My more than 25-year deep friendship with Michael, who many of you know, we just keep going. and practice. For 45 years now, I have meditated every day. I don't know why. I just do it. I just was called to do it. So I'm at this age where I'm looking back and I'm so grateful for that diligence, because I'm seeing that diligence as a foundation of my happiness now. All those things that I enjoy so much would not be here if it wasn't for diligence. I enjoy making music. I enjoy making furniture. I enjoy taking photographs. I enjoy my relationships. I enjoy my practice. But I'm not saying all this to brag that I was so great all these years, because I haven't been actually. I didn't know I was being diligent. It was just part of me. For some reason, that's just the way I am. And so I don't take credit for this. It's not like I sat there and went, I'm going to be diligent and do all these things. It just was somehow natural to me. So I don't take any more credit for that diligence than I do for my heart continuing to beat or my lungs continuing to breathe. It's just natural. But it did make me begin to wonder, how can I help others enjoy the freedom of diligence? Because it just kind of happened for me. I don't know how I did it or why I did it. And maybe I did it a lot for shadow reasons, I'm not really sure exactly. But what I want to offer tonight is something very concrete. I want to offer just very clear practices of diligence, so that if you decide that you would like the fruits of diligence in your life, like I'm experiencing now from my life, that you have concrete things to do. I know some of the times I give talks and they're a little bit too floaty up here. So I really want to be concrete. And Sue printed out some things. I've made a handout that you can take home with you that has all this on it. So you don't have to think you're going to lose anything. You can look at a piece of paper when we're all done. And if for folks that aren't here that want to look, it's available. If you go to wisecaregiving.org and go to the resources page, you'll find this handout. So if you want to get it that way. Let's get concrete. So I'm going to give you a 4-step practice for right diligence. 4 steps. And you don't have to do everything I'm talking about. Pick what works for you. Pick what resonates for you and do that. Let the rest go. But I'm going to try and lay this out as specifically as I can, so when you look at that piece of paper, you can try these things out and just see if it works for you. Well, right diligence is always right diligence towards something. Like for me, it was towards music, or it was towards relationship. So right diligence is always practice of something. And what I want to talk about tonight is practicing about your suffering, diligently applying these practices to your suffering. And everyone in this room has a different suffering. So it will be individual for all of us. So I just want to invite you to think about, what is it in your life that's really causing you difficulty now, that you want to apply some diligence to? Maybe it's you have a tendency to be angry, or maybe you're defensive. It could be judgment. A lot of us walk around with judgment all the time. So think about what it is for you, so you can apply it to that. And know that the fact that you have this suffering doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you at all. Every one of us has it, and every one of us has multiple points of this kind of suffering. It's what it is to be a human being. So the fact that you suffer doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. But right diligence has the power to transform your suffering at its root. So you're not just covering it over, you're transforming it at its root. Okay, 4-step process. Let's start with step 1. Step 1 is guarding your sense doors. Guarding your sense doors. The first place to reduce our suffering is to become very aware of our environment and have situational awareness, right? Right now, we're in a place with very lovely environment, perfect environment for insight. But that doesn't mean that when we're out there driving on I-5 that it's like that. So the first step is to learn to guard your sense doors and begin to recognize how your environment and situation lead you towards your chronic suffering. And then, hopefully, if you're guarding your sense doors, you can close the door before the suffering starts to take hold. Now, I'll offer 3 different ways you might try doing this. The first way is to protect yourself. For instance, right now we have a whole economy of apps and websites that want us to suffer. They make money off of us suffering. So we can begin to protect ourselves by noticing, for instance, if you pick up this app and look for a while at this app, what happens to you? Do you begin to suffer? Notice that that's happening. That might be one of the sense doors you need to watch. Or maybe it's which news outlet you begin to watch. Does that lead you to more peace, or does that lead you to more suffering? Notice that. Notice what puts you ill at ease, and set boundaries. It's not easy to do, but we can do it. The second thing you might try is do mindful check-ins with yourself. Regularly scan your internal state. And when you feel early signs of dis-ease or irritability, embrace them with kindness and close the sense door that's letting those in. So notice yourself. Notice how things are affecting you, and know when it's time to close that sense door. And then the third thing you might try in guarding your sense doors is notice in this room, we right now have a Sangha. And the Sangha is a wonderful protection for our sense doors. Wonderful protection. These are loving, caring people here that have your best interest at heart. So you can trust that when you're here with this Sangha, you have wholesome support for guarding your sense doors. Find those in other places too. Where else can you find your Sangha? Maybe part of your Sangha might be the birds that sing when you walk in nature. They could be your Sangha. It could be the first sunlight that comes through your window in the morning. That could be your Sangha. So these are 3 ways of protecting your sense doors. So the summary for the first step. Here's the summary. Guard your sense doors with boundaries, mindfulness, and the support of Sangha. So that's the first step to right diligence. Don't let it in. But what do we do once it's in? Right? Because we can't do that all the time. We won't do that perfectly. In fact, we will probably do it quite ineffectively, and a lot will come in. So that leads us to step 2. What will you do once the suffering has made it past the sense doors and you are actively suffering? So the second step is let go. Let go. Usually we don't notice our suffering when it's just starting to come in, like through our sense doors. Usually it's after it's already here. And that's okay. Everything will find its way in, you know. It gets past the goalie. No matter how good our goalie is, it's going to slip past the goalie. But when a mental formation that causes you to suffer has taken hold, then you can let it go. You and let it go. So again, I'm going to offer you 3 things that you can do to try to let go as your second step. The first thing is this technique I call the not me technique. So often when we suffer, we identify with it. We might say, I'm angry, I'm ruminating, I'm feeling defensive, right? We are identifying with it. So try this. Try practicing not me. It's not I'm angry. The actual reality is anger is present. Right? Anger is present. It's not true, I'm not angry. If it were true that I am angry, then who is going to see the anger? Who is going to care for the anger? Because I am all wrapped up in anger. But I have the ability to see the anger, to care for the anger. I just need to know anger is present. So it's a not me technique. What I'm experiencing is not me. So try that. See what that does for you. It helps you let go of it instead of identify with it. So the second technique you might try is embracing the opposite. So for instance, if you find yourself gripped by negative judgments, this happens to me when I drive. Right? I'm judging people all the dang time. They're too slow, too fast, didn't signal soon enough, whatever it is. I got a judgment for them. So how about embracing the opposite? So if I'm judging someone, find a way that I appreciate that person instead. If I think that person's a real loser, find a way that I love them instead. Try the opposite and see what happens. If you feel greedy, you've got to have something, you can remind yourself of that object's impermanence, that it won't last. The thing I want and feel I'll be happy if I get it, it's going to be gone, just like that. Invite in the opposite. And then the third way, when you find yourself suffering, when it's come in, you'll probably notice that your body is tight. Maybe your shoulders are all hunched up like this. I know in me, I feel a grinding in my stomach. There's this twist down here. Sometimes I also feel a crunch in my chest. Relax. Relax. We think that we need to always go after suffering with our mind, but maybe it's better to go and address the suffering with our body. Those of you who do yoga, you know this, right? You know that when you find that tight, tense part in your body, simply give loving attention to it. Let it be there. You don't think it out. You don't say, oh, that's my mother, so when she said this. No. Just say, oh, my little tension. I see that you're there. Relax. Our bodies are so truthful. Our minds not so much. So we can meet our suffering right in our body. It's okay. So that's the second step. Let go. And here's the summary. When suffering arises, remember, it's not me. I can embrace its opposite, and I can relax. Okay. Step 1, card your sense doors. Step 2, if it gets in, let go of it. And step 3, call this watering good seeds. You've put steps 1 and 2 in place, and you've felt some relief. That tension in your belly has let go. That rumination that's been going through your mind is calming down. So when you see that your garden is beautiful, and it's free of suffering, that's the time when you water good seeds and plant what you want in your garden so that the weeds don't have so much room to grow up again. Right? If you've got a good ground cover in your garden, the weeds don't have as much chance. Bring the states of mind forward that you want. Don't just be a victim of what slipped in the door. So how would you do that? I just want to mention the classical Buddhist way to do this, and it's a whole nother study, so I won't really go into it in much depth, but it's called the Brahma Viharas. And watering good seeds is the practice of the Brahma Viharas. The divine abodes is what that means in English. And they can calm the negative formations. So there's 4 of them. There's loving kindness. And loving kindness leaves less room for you to grow weeds of hatred. When you've planted these beautiful good seeds of loving kindness, less room for hatred in your garden. The second of the 4 Brahma Viharas is compassion. When you have compassion growing in your garden, there's not as much room for judgment. When I have compassion for the people that are out there on the road, many people are suffering while they're driving. I don't know what they've been going through. If I can remember that, there's just not room for that judgment to get hold and come up. The third of the Brahma Viharas is what we call sympathetic joy. It's joy in others' joy. Joy when things go well for you, not necessarily just for me. And when I've got that in my heart, when I'm actively looking for ways I can celebrate other people's happiness, there's no room for the weeds of envy to grow up. There's too much joy for the envy to be there. And then the 4th one is equanimity. When I have equanimity, when I am not all wrapped up in making things go this way or not that way, seeing this outcome as the only way I'll be happy and this is the way I'm always going to suffer. If I have some equanimity in me, there's no room for the weeds of anxiety. I know I'm okay. So the 3rd step is water your good seeds. It's a lovely way to not let suffering have room to get strong in you. So fill the garden of your heart with positive seeds. The 4th concrete step is enjoy your garden. Now, there will be times when all of this suffering just gives up. It just gives up. It's been pitching its fit in you like a 2-year-old that didn't get a cookie, and screaming and yelling and jumping up and down, and eventually it stops. And that happens for us in little moments, and it happens for us in long stretches of time. It's one of the reasons we practice. It makes that more and more likely that our suffering stops. So when that happens, when you find those moments, when you just look up and see the maple tree is blooming and it's just so amazing and beautiful and you feel so at peace, retain that mind. Enjoy your garden. Stay there with it. Don't rush past it. Those moments are so important. I remember when I had a kind of a breakthrough one time during a long meditation retreat. And my teacher's encouragement during that was just stay there and look around. See what that's like. Enjoy my garden. It's bloomed beautifully. There's 3 ways we can do this. I'm getting concrete, because I was getting a little bit not concrete there. So how do we do that? What are these ways? So 3 I want to offer. The first way is practice during the easy times. So often we come to practice when we're really suffering, because we're highly motivated then. It's hard, and we want something to take away the suffering. So we're already motivated to practice during the hard times. But practice during the easy times, when you feel open, when you feel relaxed, when you feel joyful. Another way that you can do this is to actively cultivate your happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, if there's not happiness in your practice, then you're not doing it right. Now, it doesn't mean that every moment you're happy. That's not true. But there are elements of happiness in our practice when we're practicing in that balanced way between effort and ease. So when those moments of happiness arrive, take a moment to sit with them. When you're happy, know that you're happy. When you're joyful, know that you're joyful. Creating and fostering your happiness gives you trust in the practice, because we all know there are many, many times when you come and you sit and it is a grind. When it is so hard and you don't want to feel those difficult feelings that keep coming up, when your mind is playing tricks with you and just throwing one challenging thought after another. We all know those times. So know the good times just as well. And that gives you confidence to keep coming back during the hard times. Nobody can give you that information. Nobody can tell you what it's like to be free. You have to know it for yourself. And I trust you to know it for yourself. And then the third way is to practice diligently, just like we've been talking about. So practice diligently. Show up. Do your practice, but don't be fanatical about it. Right? Effort, ease. Be diligent. Don't be fanatical. Don't turn this practice into a self-improvement project. Just last night, I was waiting for a friend, and I was leaning up against a signpost. And I realized at a deeper level than I ever realized before that my self-improvement project is over. You know, I am just a flawed human being like everybody else. And I will suffer like everybody else. And I will make mistakes like everybody else. And there is no amount of work that will ever expunge that from me. And I can be free. Just like that. Practice diligently, but not fanatically. Don't turn your garden into an over-fertilized chemical wasteland. And we can really do that, can't we? We really can. Know that the present moment is a wonderful moment. Know that for yourself. Thich Nhat Hanh used to say that all the time, but it doesn't matter what he said. What can you say? Can you see that this present moment, right now, is unspeakably wonderful? So the summary for the fourth step: enjoy your garden. Enjoy the fruits of your diligence. You've all been practicing hard. Invite those positive mental formations in and sit down together with them for a cup of tea and enjoy them. Encourage them to stay with you. When they're time to go, they'll go. But don't make it too fast. Okay. So that's the 4 steps. And maybe you can enjoy practicing with those 4 steps. Now, if you really want 3 steps, you want a real easy method. So here's the easy method. 3 R's. Okay, if you can't remember anything else, remember just 3 R's. Here's the 3 R shortcut. Recognize the negative mental formations. That's the first R. Release your grip on it. 3, return to your wholesome focus. Recognize, release, return. And that's the quick way to say what I just wasted a bunch of words on. Okay, so I'm almost done. Let me just kind of review. That might have seemed kind of heady, and I hope that what you'll do is you'll take this piece of paper and you'll put it up on your mirror, your refrigerator, or something like that, and experiment with these things. Words that I speak, it's not worth anything. What's worth something is your own experience. And so take it home, try it out. And remember that right diligence is that balance between effort and ease. You know, don't bust a gut, but don't never get out of bed. Find that balance. This isn't a race. Practice is not a test. Practice is a paradox, actually. It requires a lot of effort. If it didn't require a lot of effort, or we didn't give a lot of effort, we just get stuck in the suffering that we've accumulated, and that's what most people do. Right? As most people in the world just stay stuck there. So it requires effort, but it also requires non-effort. You cannot force yourself to see your Buddha nature. Your Buddha nature arises up in the ease and shows itself to you, and you go, oh, it's been here all along. That only happens in ease. So it's this balance. Practice diligently and let go.